Have you ever wondered why you're not rich? Sure, you might not feel poor, but compared to the world's billionaires in the world, most of us are. So what separates them from everyone else, and how does someone actually become a billionaire, and why do the rich keep getting richer? Well, in this video, we're going to find out.
Analyzing the news.
What have you picked up there?
The wildflowers are open.
Yeah, there's lots of wildflowers about at the moment. Apart from that bloody tree, there's nothing much going on there. Summer is coming, fantastic. I've actually got my coat off today in the UK, which means the temperature is getting higher. The vibration is raising and the weather is obviously getting warmer, which is fantastic. But today we're going into the dells of the super rich and what separates rich people from poor people. It's an interesting subject. And if we look at it closely, it actually isn't that difficult to figure out what separates the two. What have you been picking?
It's a plant. I don't know what type of plant it is, but I'll find out when I get home.
They always say that, why do people give people dead plants? Because that's basically what they are. Well, I suppose it's free. But in life, things aren't always free, because as of April 2024, the weekly full-time wage in the UK is £728, which is equating to an annual income of approximately £37,856 a year. Now, that's not everyone. There's a lot of people who earn a lot less than that. In fact, half of that. But this is the law of averages in the UK. Now, you've got to think of this, because monthly expenses for a simple person, or a single person, should I say, in the UK can be vary, and it's variable based on location and lifestyle. And here's a breakdown of the average costs for someone single living in the UK, and it's very expensive, a lot more expensive than you would have thought. Okay, so first let's look at rent. So the average monthly rent ranges between £1,200 and £2,000 depending on location and obviously the property type that they're living in. And then you've got things like utilities like gas, electricity, water waste and disposal, because you have to pay to get your rubbish removed. And for the average, I don't know, 85 square meter apartment, the basic utilities average is around £234.96 a month. And then on top of that, you've got your food, groceries, and for a single person, typically spends between £150 and £250 per month on groceries, with obviously dining, and this can increase the cost as well, because you don't want to just be stuck in eating beans on toast. Sometimes you want to go out and treat yourself for a nice meal, but believe me, it's very expensive. So if we're combining these expenses, a single person might expect the average monthly outgoings to be between £1,585 to £2,685, and these estimates excludes additional costs such as transportation, insurance and personal expenses, which can further impact obviously the monthly budget. How pretty is it around here? It's gorgeous. So just be aware, life's not cheap. Oh look, there's another train. Can you see it? There's somewhere up there. But you have to pay for the trains as well. So you haven't got a car, you've got to pay public transport. It all builds up, doesn't it? Look at this, it's like the Garden of Eden. Now, if you don't know the story about the Garden of Eden, it was basically about Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve lived in a garden and they owned nothing, but they had everything and they were perfectly happy. Not like nowadays, you have to pay for bloody everything. As soon as you're born, you're paying. Where's the baby gone? Harley! Oh, has he been a good boy? Okay, let's look at the opposite end of the scale. Someone who's got plenty of money. In fact, let's look at the billionaires. Listen to this story, you'll like this. The Range, which is a store in the UK, which is absolutely huge. I think everybody knows what the Range is, because most people go. I know certainly the missus goes there every 5 minutes. We should have shares in that company, the amount of money she bloody spends. But anyway, the Range was founded by a guy called Chris Dawson, who is currently holds the position of the Chief Executive Chairman, which basically means he owns that bloody thing. Now, his journey to becoming a billionaire is a classic rag to riches story, because he wasn't born rich, he become rich. He was born in 1952 in Plymouth, England, and he left school at the age of 15 with literally no qualifications. He had no education, he was dyslexic, couldn't read or write, and still to this day, I think he's in his 60s, he still can't read or write, but he's a billionaire. Doesn't make sense, but it does when you understand how the mindset of the wealthy think, because it is literally a mindset. It's not necessarily education that gets you rich, it's knowledge, and there's a difference. There's some strange person walking in the woods on their own. I just saw them over there. I'm not going to film them, but I'll point my camera there just in case they try to kill me, and then I've got evidence of who actually killed me. Then let's go back to this guy, because then in 1989, this billionaire, he opened his first store, initially named Chris Dawson Superstores, and he opened that in a town called Plymouth. He then rebranded his business as The Range, and that's what we now call it. And it's suddenly become rapid in growth because he was selling a service that people wanted, and obviously they like to spend a lot of money in his stores because he had a range of everything. And that's why it calls it The Range. As of 2023, Dawson's net worth was estimated to be £2.5 billion. Can you imagine that? Even in the interest on it is flipping fantastic.
Chris might currently be riding high in the rich lists, employing over 5,000 staff and running 70 stores nationwide, but he started in the 70s as a market trader selling moccasins. His stall went from strength to strength, and by the early 80s, he says he was earning up to £38,000 a week, selling everything from pots and pans to wellies and watches.
Now, Dawson's entrepreneurial success is attributed to his keen understanding of the market and the market demands, and his ability to identify and capitalize on retail opportunities, transforming a single store into a nationwide retail empire, because the Range is huge in the UK, literally huge. And if you're from the UK, you'll be fully aware of that fact. And it's very unlikely that you've not spent any money in there, because everybody bloody does. It's fantastic.
There's no luck in this.
No.
What is your sort of business ethos?
Okay, well, if you maximise the day, if I can get 70 minutes out of every hour, there is no relax, there is no that'll do, there is no, well, that's almost right, that we'll do this tomorrow. Yeah, I don't mind sort of having a sense of humour, but, I'll put the energy into where it's going to be the biggest return.
What about success? How do you measure success?
Okay, well, success to me is a big scoreboard in the sky, and I challenge myself to beat figures, turnover figures, net profit figures, balance sheets, the amount of stores, how long the applause was when I'd done a speech. I want more all the time. Is it greed? Okay, then it's greed. I'm very, very greedy for more success.
Yeah, we're out with the dog again. We're always out with the bloody dog. It's like a child. When you have kids, it's a responsibility. You have to feed them, take care of them. But with a dog, you have to walk them. And the bigger the dog, the bigger the walks. But it's good for us because it gives us plenty of exercise, gets us to be in nature and expand our consciousness, open our mind, and more importantly, just relax, just let go. It's all right. Everything's going to be all right. Now listen, rich people get richer because they have money making money. And they invest in things like property, stocks, other businesses that grow over time and generate more income without them working for every pound. In other words, they don't work for money, they invest money. They don't work for money, they make money work for them. If you sort of understand that, you'll start to understand how money's generated, especially huge amounts of it. They also have access to better advice and cheaper borrowing. So the interest rates is a lot lower when someone's more financially stable because the risk is lower. And the opportunities that they get aren't the same as the opportunities that we'd get because they've got leverage. Would you invest into someone who's got no money, or would you invest into someone who's got a lot of money? Well, you go for the one that makes more sense, doesn't you? And that's how business works. It's called a business investment. It's just a posh word for who do you trust the most. It's kind of important to recognize that poor people often get poorer because of most of their money goes towards survival, rent, bills, food, with little or nothing left to invest or save. They get the money, they spend it, it goes in, it goes out, which we can all relate to, can't we? And we can do that through things like debt, high interest loans, and the rising living costs trap. And these traps obviously trap all of us in this cycle that's hard to escape. That's why they call it like the rat race, the chain. It's a bad system that we're in. So rich people and poor people, this is what kind of separates them, because they work hard, which is what poor people tend to do, but rich people make the money work for them. Does this kind of make sense? It will do if you bear with me, because we're going to go into it a little bit more deeper and you're going to find out. Right, let's look at Harley for a moment. Harley's the name of the dog. Let's look at him in a sense of an investment. We bought Harley the dog and he was quite expensive because he's a pedigree. Is he a good investment? Not really, because he doesn't add any value to us. In other words, he does in certain aspects because we love him and we enjoy being with him. Even though he's stubborn, he's a good boy. And by the way, he's got that mask on, not because he's aggressive, because he gets intimidated by little dogs and he gets overexcited and starts jumping. So we put that on him just in case the other dog owners feel intimidated by him, because he is a big dog. But let's get back to it. So if we bought Harley and we wanted to make money out of it as a business, a poor person would just buy the dog and they'll lose money because it's a liability. They bought the dog, they're not getting anything back except from love and affection and this, that and the other, but financial gain, money, none. But if we want to change it into a business, what we could do, we could say, right, I'm going to buy a full pedigree dog, which is a male, which say it cost me £1,000 to buy him as a puppy. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stud him out. If you don't know what stud him out means, that means I'll advertise on some sort of website or media post that I've got a Rottweiler who's able to stud. That means he will impregnate other female dogs, which are called bitches, by the way. It sounds horrible, that, but it's true. He'll impregnate them dogs and then they'll have puppies, and then people can sell them puppies for a profit. So if I was going to stud them out, I would charge them a fee. Now I'm making money. It's like prostitution, isn't it? But I ain't going to do that with him. He's basically a pet, but you could do. So that's business. So then I'm investing into him, paying £1,000, but I'm going to get money out of him by renting his genetics out, if you like. Now, it's important to remember that money doesn't make you happy. All money does is makes you comfortable. And if you can have it or not have it, you might as well have it and be more comfortable. So I'm going to give you the 10 main things that separates the rich from the poor. And if you follow these ideas, you can do it too. It's not rocket science. That's Roxy, by the way. She's not real, so there's no point talking to her. But anyway, again, if you didn't gather already, I really like motorbikes. And I can afford to buy them because I'm in this financial position that I can, because I learned to think. And when you think properly, you can change your life, because that's what it's all about. It's all to do with the mind. So here are the top 10 things. Mindset, because that's basically what it's about. You don't have to be academic, you don't have to be clever, you don't have to be clever at school and pass degrees and have A levels and O levels and degrees. You just need to know how your mind works. And once you know how your mind works, you can focus your attention, then consciously choose a thought and say, right, this is what I'm going to do. You need to sort of think differently, because that's all it is. It's just about thinking different. Okay, with that said, let's look at the first one. So here's number one, which is that wealthy people think about owning assets and businesses and stocks and property. But poor people often focus on spending what they earn on things that lose value. It's like when you buy something, you're giving your money away. Now it's gone. But a rich person would look at something and think, if I buy that, how am I going to make money from it? So, for example, I could buy that screwdriver, yeah? Okay, and once I've bought it, I give the cashier my cash. Now I've lost money, but I've got the thing. But a business person would say, right, okay, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to sell it for more than I paid for it. That's the difference between a poor person and a rich person. They look for investments. How can they make money? It's literally that simple. You don't have to go to university to study this. It's not rocket science. It's common sense once you're aware of it. And then this number two, which is rich people plan years ahead in building wealth slowly, but poor people often chase quick wins or immediate comfort. Business survivals on focus and short-term thriving. It's like a poor person will do the lottery, a rich person won't, because it's a waste of money. You see what I mean? It's interesting, okay? Then there's number three, which is wealthy people understand that risk is necessary for rewards. But poor people, what they tend to do, they're burned by setbacks, they usually often avoid risks, which limit opportunities to grow. Okay, now let's look at a number four. This is a good one, because rich people constantly learn. They're constantly researching, reading books, or they'll have mentors, or they'll go on courses, because knowledge compounds, should I say, which poor people don't tend to do that. Poor people often stop learning once formal education ends. That means they'll go to school and that's it. I've learned everything I need to know. Well, not really. You've got to keep learning. Knowledge is power, or should I say, knowledge is potential power if you use it in the right way. Another one for number five would be that wealthy people build powerful networks and relationships, but poor people tend to stick to small social circuits and circles and groups, limiting exposure to new ideas and opportunities. So a poor person might go to the pub with the mates, but a rich person will go, okay, I'm going to go and network with a group of people, but we're not going to sit there and get drunk. We're going to come up with ideas together and see how we can help each other. See, again, it's the same thing, but thinking in a different way. And then you've got number six, which is people see problems as puzzles. Well, rich people see problems as puzzles to solve and profit from, but poor people often see problems as roadblocks leading to frustration or giving up. So that could be, for example, I need to sit down, my arm's bloody aching holding this phone. A poor person has a problem, they panic. A rich person, I go, if I have a problem, how can I solve it? And they think outside the box. And that's a good way to be, because now you're not stressed by the situation. Instead, you're addressing it. So don't get stressed. Address. See the difference there as well. See, this is good stuff, this is. Okay, here's number 7, which is that wealthy people build several income sources. Poor people rely on a job, making them vulnerable if it disappears. That means if you've got a job, your source of income comes from your employer. They're paying you money to do a job, but you could lose your job, or you could be on benefit or welfare. Your source of income is only coming from one place, and if you lose it, you're in big trouble. Rich people don't do that. Rich people have multiple sources of income. So I'll give you an idea. They get an amount of money and they'll invest it, so they're getting something back, and then they'll look at another idea or an investment. Say, oh, I'm going to put money into that and I'm going to get money back. I'm going to do it to that and get money back. So that's called multiple sources of income. That means if one collapses, it doesn't matter because you've got all the rest of them. It all makes sense. So again, sort of same thing with number 8. Rich people use money to make more money, like investments or hiring teams, but poor people are often stuck by trading time. For every pound they earn, they get paid by the hour. That's silly. Why would you get paid by the hour? You'd have to work a lot of hours, wouldn't you, to make a fortune? You couldn't do it. It's that famous saying, you can't get rich by working for someone else. You can't. It's impossible because you're getting paid by the hour. It's not a good idea, is it, really? Then there's number 9, which is that rich people believe there are always other sources of money to make, but poor people often believe there's never enough, leading to fear-based decisions. And when you're in a state of fear, you don't feel confident, do you? You feel afraid and low. But you can't be like that. And if you want to be rich, you've got to be open-minded. Think, okay, money exists. All I have to do is find it. And number 10 is wealthy people take responsibility for their outcomes, good or bad. But poor people often blame external factors like the system, or, oh, that person's lucky, or I'm not good enough, or it's their fault, or it's this fault. If you don't take responsibility, then you're never going to get what you're entitled to. You have to take responsibility. Now, they're your top 10 tips. And if you noticed, every single tip we talked about, it's not about being clever or being educated. It's about your mind and your perception. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And if you have a wealthy mindset of opportunity, then opportunities come. That's how it works. This isn't rocket science, but you probably weren't told this at school. You just get told to behave yourself and shut up and pay attention. But the good news is, you know now. So I hope you've learned something in this video, and thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.